Welcome to The Fork in the Road with Perry S. Kaufman, business strategy for founders of private companies. This is the place to evaluate where you are and where you're going on the business lifecycle journey.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Fork in the Road podcast. I'm Perry Kaufman, your host, and this is where we hear real-life stories of visionaries who are pursuing what I call the founder's journey. It's very exciting, and today we have Patrick Murphy, who is a co-founder of a company called Maket. And this is actually an AI floor plan studio. And I have a little bit of sense of what that means, but I'm looking forward to learning a lot more. So welcome, Patrick. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Perry.
Great. So Patrick, I think you probably know I have this, vision of the business world in stages and business life cycle. And we're going to loosely kind of walk your story through that whole process.
Fantastic.
But before we do, I want to start with what I call the pre-founder's journey and ask you just to tell us your story, start wherever you want, that led you to the moment where you wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so thanks for having me first and foremost. I'm super excited to be here. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur to a certain extent. I think I had a few sort of normal jobs, and I think that I realized that those weren't a good fit for me. I'm a curious person, so I always like learning, and I've had the model of being able to be curious and flexible. My mom's an artist by trade, and my dad's he's a pastor, been in ministry his whole life, so sort of understood non-traditional career paths, I think. But my entrepreneur path really started as early as high school. So started a t-shirt company, started working on that, creating the designs for that, sourcing the materials, selling it around the school, which bending the rules a little bit about what you can do at school, but got my first taste of business there. We didn't lose any money. We didn't make any money. We're sort of just break even, but learned some good experiences there. And then I, within my university years, worked for a digital marketing agency. Is sort of employee number one within that organization, and saw a lot of how an organization works. Right at the same time as doing a degree in communications, I also did a degree in graphic design. So I had sort of the technical knowledge and was learning sort of the theoretical knowledge around communication skills, and really founding a business. So helped really grow that marketing agency. Saw a lot of things what to do, things that you shouldn't necessarily be doing, the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And that led me to joining a software development company as a head of commercialization. So we were basically commercializing an office management application, a little bit like Envoy or like Robin. This was pre-COVID, so there was still a lot of receptionists and sort of not necessarily the self-check-in. So commercializing that wasn't necessarily the easiest thing. But from early days, I just really knew that I wanted to go out on my own, and those were good learning experiences to then start Maket at the beginning of COVID. So that's sort of the pre-founder journey where I got there, a lot of experiences, and had just a lot of key people along the way that really formed me as an individual and as a leader, and the leadership traits I wanted to carry forward within the founding of the company.
So I've talked to folks who turned out to be founders, some of which told me that they were founders by default because they couldn't work for someone else. They didn't take direction well. I'm not putting you in that box. But
You can.
It sounds like you were really focused on it early, which is excellent. And it sounds like, our parents always influence us in some way, shape, or form, but they may not have played a big part in influencing you entrepreneurially. Is that
I actually, even though my parents weren't sort of formal entrepreneurs and didn't start businesses themselves, there's an incredible amount of parallels when it comes to ministry work and being an entrepreneur. So you gotta be good at public speaking. You got to get the message across and repeat the message sort of continually. You have a lot of ups, a lot of downs. You have people who follow you. You have people who end up by leaving for a variety of reasons. You have to build a team. You have to manage budgets. You have to raise your own support. support and funding. So there's actually a lot of the things that parallel, I think, ministry work with entrepreneurship work. So I think I intrinsically was inspired, but I combined that with just my love for design, graphic design, really making the world a more beautiful place. And that led me to basically the intersection of the physical world and a digital world, and led me to founding an AI architecture company, right? So a lot of those things were maybe intrinsic and I didn't realize as I was growing up, but quickly as I started the company, I saw a lot of those parallels and still see a lot of those parallels. My father helps me a lot for public speaking, sort of how do we get the main message across, and I've carried those skills into my entrepreneurship journey.
That's great. So if you had to classify or describe your decision-making DNA, are you one of these, it just hits you and you're go with it, or do you contemplate a little longer, or, what do you think?
I have two other founders within the company, great guys, great founders. There's Steph, who he was the original founder of the company. He recruited me to join. He's the COO of the business, the architect, architect by trade. He's very much the analytical one. So he really thinks about every decision, thinks about the impacts, is really calculated in what he does in terms of decisions, manages all the budgets, operational things of the company. I have Simon, who's a little bit of a mix of me and Stefan, who was a little bit more analytical than I am as well, who's heading up the products, who's chief product officer. Sold a few startups before this, sold one to Groupon, another one to Slack, another one to Figma. So very, successful entrepreneur. I'm really the one that is idea strikes me and let's go and do it 110%. And I'm glad that we have a variety of personalities within the leadership team.
Yeah, that way. Sounds great.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with the phrase "fail fast."
Exactly. I always say I think the Canadian version of this is always put pucks on net. It's like it's just keep on taking shots, right? That's how I feel. Yep.
That sounds great.
Yep.
Well, good. So now take us right up to that brink of launch.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You were probably ready to launch before everybody else, but
we were early within generative AI. So when we started the company, we really had a conviction of we wanted to make architecture simple and accessible to everyone everywhere, right? So we my co-founder, he work with a lot of tools like CAD or Revit, Rhino, SketchUp, those types of tools, and super heavy tools, hard to get your ideas across if you're not professional. So we knew that there was a need within the space, but this was pre-generative AI, pre-ChatGPT. So getting to that place of having a really easy to use tool that consumers could use, we had that idea, way back when, but it took a lot of time for the technology to be able to mature to get to the point where we're at now, say, post ChatGPT and Claude, et cetera. So that's when we started the company, always had that vision, but it did take time for the technology to mature. We launched our first version of the platform in 2023 and grew over about 2.5 years to over 1 million users on platform. But we launched really, really early. When I mean early, I'm talking about floor plans that look like an abstract piece of art, broken code, but people really had a deep issue that we needed to fix, and that's just making architecture accessible. And I'm glad that we launched early because we're able to see those things pretty quickly.
Yeah. So two things come to mind on that. First of all, I was going to ask you to help us understand your value proposition in what I think I'm going to try to say it, and you're going to fix it for me. But basically, it's probably very exciting for people to be able to see visually what they're trying to shoot for.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I really parallel it to using Lovable, using Suno, to a certain extent, maybe using Canva, ChatGPT, Claude. It's become sort of synonymous now with generative AI and democratization. It's things that you weren't able to do, now you're able to do with generative AI. It's the same thing that we're shooting for, right? It's you put in a text prompt, you draw your plans from scratch. Eventually, we'll start from templates, and then you can explore what your space will look like, whether it be a new build or renovation, and see those ideas come to life. And we're combining AI and really simple UI together so the user can get to a point of saying, oh, like I have a floor plan that I can use and I can imagine what my space will look like, right?
So on that point, I want to ask you to help me understand. So are you serving it like me, the consumer who wants to build a home, and or a home builder who wants to design to spec a home?
It's both. It's really a mix of both. And that's the beauty of the tool that we've created. We've made it so simple that it works for both, whether it be for new build. So you'd want to create a new home. You want to see what that looks like. You want to generate a few plans, edit those plans, visualize what the space will look like. You can do that. You'll be able to do also renovation projects. So bring in existing floor plans, being able to see what that space can look like as well. You can modify that plan using a text-based prompt or our interface or UI to really be able to imagine what the space will look like. The best way that I can describe it's a little bit like The Sims, right? But for real life, that's really what we're building. So whether it be home builders that use it with their customers and take their existing floor plans and make modifications possible, or consumers that come to us with their floor plans or with no floor plans and they want to generate plans, they'd be able to do both. But we've really made it a consumer focused tool that's just easy to use and get started with.
Okay. And so not to be too detailed, but just to have the visual again for me, I'm very visual. Is it? So I might sit in front of my computer and, sign in and start answering questions?
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a 0 to 1 flow that we call, where you can start in a few different ways. You can start from scratch, where you can generate a floor plan. We ask you things around square footage, what your room types need to be, what your building shape will be. And you can generate a floor plan based off of that. And then you can make the modifications to plan like you want. You can also start your floor plans from scratch and start drawing the floor plan using our draw wall tool, be able to furnish that plan as well. And then we're also going to have the ability to then go via a template. So there's a few different ways that you can start, but usually within a few minutes, you get a floor plan that you can use and that works and for your space and what you're looking for. So it's really made for as a creative tool.
Yeah. So it makes me think about, as I think about, of a consumer of buying houses and what have you, do you have direct competitors, and or if you don't have many, are you bumping into other players in the industry that you kind of overlap with?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of interesting solutions within the market, right? So you have the legacy tools, CAD, Revit, Rhino, SketchUp. Those tools are used by professional. They have some generative aspects to them, but they're not necessarily built around sort of this AI native era that we're in. So you can do a lot of things with those tools, but not generative, primarily used by, once again, professionals. You have consumer tools that are appearing more and more, but those tools often don't have the context that we've had and we've been able to accumulate over the last few years, right? So we really understand what people are trying to generate, how those plans should look. We have the architectural knowledge internally as well to be able to create an algorithm that really generates plans that actually work and are functional. So you do see some competitors, for example, that use just off-the-shelf image generation models or their own image generation models to generate a floor plan, but then there's not going to necessarily be the architectural cohesiveness within the plan. So we really go deep within what makes a good floor plan a good floor plan. We're building out evaluation benchmarks as well to be able to continue to refine those algorithms. So yeah, categorizing legacy tools and then yes, consumer tools, but don't have that breadth of architectural knowledge within the platform that we do.
All right. Well, going back to my framing. So, the first phase is startup, and that's all about survival. So congratulations. You've whizzed through that one. And
there are ups and downs. There are times that we...
Believe me, I know. It's never a free ride, but...
Never is.
But then you kind of get into this prove your business model, which in my mind, I describe as acceptance in the marketplace, ability to execute. And so when was that first moment, or how did you know that, hey, people are getting it, they're embracing it, and so forth?
Yeah, I think that honestly, as we launched a product, as soon as we started turning on monetization, it was in V1 in January of 2020 or January, February of 2023, we saw that people would pay for the solution, right? They really have a deep need for a solution within this space. So we really started charging a little bit like the consumer tools that a lot of people use, $20, $30 per month. You can use a platform and really explore different concepts. Now we've expanded to also have some enterprise offerings. We're working with a large home builder in Japan currently that use it with their customers. So we've expanded what the offering and reach of what we're able to provide. But we really just saw that as a lot of people came onto the platform, started using it, started monetizing them in a pretty easy fashion. We've always had the luxury too of having really good distribution as well through organic sort of SEO and some of the other work that we've done. We've always had thousands of people that have used the platform on a monthly basis, and now hundreds of thousands of people, close to hundreds of thousands of people using it on a monthly basis as well. So we've had that luxury as well as we've moved forward.
Yeah. And do you provide service thereafter? In other words, if I get on and answer all the questions and say, wow, this looks exactly like what I have in mind, do I run to my home builder? Do I come back to you? What do I do?
Exactly. So really, we provide the software piece to it. We don't go further within the architectural process just because we have to have licensed architects, and it's a really we have global usage on the platform. So it's really meant as a starting point to be able to explore what's possible within the space, and then start having a conversation with interior designer, architect, et cetera, or them using it with their customers. So that's really how we've designed the tool. That's going to continue to evolve, but that's how we have it set up right now.
That's great. And so who amongst your co-founders or your organization is the AI guru?
Good question. So we have a super solid AI team. Ding and Priscilla, two of our really lead AI engineers. They're really at the heart of what we've done around floor plan generation, AI editing. They've been with us for a very long time as well, almost from the starting of the company. So they have a deep understanding and knowledge of how the space works and architectural constraints need to fit with the AI generated plans. So they're really at the head of sort of leading that charge internally. With the generative algorithms that we've developed.
Good. So again, using my framework, so we're at stage 2 in proving this business model, and I loosely define it as follows. And I'm not asking for too much information, but I see businesses that get into this stage, and if they can produce 6 consecutive quarters of double-digit growth in the top line and the bottom line, and they're producing bottom line that is commensurate with their peer group. Now, the challenge is I don't think you have any direct peer group, but that's okay. Okay. Yeah. But if you think about it loosely, 6 consecutive quarters of that type of growth trajectory, then it seems to me that you have, gotten the message from the market that they like something about you, and they're accepting and maybe recurring use or spreading the word.
Yeah, what we've seen a lot is we've been able to collect just such a great amount of user feedback and data, right? Like not over complexifying the problem that we're trying to solve, but really customers, what they want is they want a good floor plan. So we want to be able to generate floor plans. They really want to be able to edit those plans using a text-based prompt. That's primarily how they want to use it, but also an easy to use floor plan editor. We've developed that in-house, great floor plan editor, and then being able to visualize what their space will look like with specific products. Yes, image references, but really being able to see what their space will look like. We've really made it a point to focus on those 3 things, and it's made us really, really focused on the type of market that we address, who we sell the product to, and not deviating past that. We have a lot of people that want to do commercial, a lot of people that want to do institutional projects, et cetera. Also, a lot of architects that want to go deep within the workflow that we've intentionally not served. And it's really where's the highest concentration of people. We've had a really good luxury of being able to do that. And then we also believe that revenue will continue to follow if you really fix that simple problem for people as we move forward, right?
Yeah, good. All right. So sounds like to me you've transitioned to what I refer to as stage 3. So and I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, so you're in growth mode for sure.
Yeah.
And if I understand correctly, you might have raised some outside capital.
We did. Yep.
Primarily to fuel growth, I suspect.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And I don't know if you've gone through strategic planning process and, multiple year time horizons, but I heard, interestingly, it sounds like you feel like this residential corridor you're totally committed to. Doesn't mean
Absolutely.
nothing's forever necessarily, but that I mean, you're not going to get distracted. So you're pursuing that. So the market size continues to provide you, plenty of growth opportunity, I suspect.
Absolutely. And we always say that our market is anybody who is a current homeowner or aspiring homeowner. So it's basically globally, right? And those who serve them, right? So home builders, general contractors, real estate developers. We've really taken the mission to make affordable housing and just beautiful architecture at heart when it comes to residential. Doesn't mean that there aren't tools that are going to surface that will help architects do commercial spaces. Good example of this is being able to use our draw plan from scratch feature, and then you could do commercial spaces. And we're actually seeing this, people wanting to do hotels and office spaces and being able to go further. But the primary focus that's really been aligned within the roadmap where we want to go with the product will continue to be residential. We really have a deep empathy for people and how they want to craft a residential space. And we're going to continue to focus on being solely residential.
And it doesn't matter if it's, 800 feet or 8,000 feet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we've been even impressed ourselves of what our algorithm can do with small spaces, with large spaces. It's pretty impressive to see what people have been able to do with the platform of small or big spaces.
So I spoke to somebody the other day, a little off topic, but it might be interesting, who has a piece of land that they're planning to develop mini houses.
Yep.
Okay. And so I didn't know if you've bumped into that at all, but that seems like it. Yeah,
absolutely. One of the things that we want to explore more is how do we use our space in a better fashion, right? And I'll use an analogy for this. I've spent a lot of time in Japan over the last year or so, and they optimize their land parcels in such a good way. And there is so much that we can be doing with existing land spaces, especially when it comes to ADU. ADU units are more and more becoming accessible, affordable, and there's zoning codes that are changing to allow more ADU construction. So that's one path that we do see, and we're seeing more usage. We're going to continue to see more usage within the development of mini houses and ADUs, because the reality is that we need to build more houses and we need to house more people, and we don't all need huge mansions, right? That we can actually be building in a more effective fashion with a smaller footprint, and the platform is just going to be an avenue to that.
So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about just what it's like to be a founder. And, I'll let you tell me, but it's not always a smooth path. And I would say that it is more complicated with co-founders, and two is more complicated than one. Three is probably even a geometric jump, I would say.
This is.
So anything you can share about the skill sets needed to have co-founders?
It really does sound like a cliche, but the team and the problem space that you're working in are the two ingredients of a successful company. Like, I look at both of my co-founders. I think like I mentioned, one of them is, the architect. He understands the space. He's the domain expert. He is very good with operations. I always say that if he wasn't there, we would be in trouble, right? Of actually running the business like it should be run. And also good from a financial management perspective as well. Also make sure the company is always in a healthy spot. And the third co-founder we brought about a year and a month ago, Simon, who's Chief Product Officer, scaled and sold 3 companies before, really has just deep product knowledge. And he also spent the last, I think it was 4 years renovating a house, gut reno, in Vancouver. So he understands from a consumer perspective. I redid my kitchen last year. I lived a lot of these frustrations as well. So we all have the domain experience and knowledge, and then we all have different personalities that work actually really well together. And the same thing goes for our team. We have such a low ego team. We're highly collaborative, and we have a lot of high agency people within the team. So it just makes it unbelievable to work with them. I gave the analogy on a LinkedIn post that I did of the Montreal Canadiens. So I'm big Montreal Canadiens fan. from top down all the way to their players. So Jeff Gordon, Ken Hughes, the management team, down to Martin Saint-Louis, the coach, down to the players, they really cast a vision, and everybody has followed that vision, has bought in, highly collaborative. They've become a really tight-knit team. I always like to actually take a look at how that management structure happens, how they're fixing gaps and holes within the team, and translate that to our own, management experience. So just an unbelievable team that we have.
I would encourage you, if you're not familiar with an author who wrote a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Oh, you should check it out. Oh, I mean, it sounds like you've already kind of got this under control, but it's a fascinating, simplified, version of what it takes to bring a team together to be successful. And if it's not for you, any other listeners, I would highly. I use it in my work when I see that there is some quote dysfunction and challenges.
And it's one of the things that I love the most about building the company is building that team dynamic and understanding where there's key players that are missing. How can we be a little bit more smooth? What does that look like? How do we have more communication within the team? And it's just, I really say it with utmost sincerity that we just have an unbelievable team. The talent pool that's available in Montreal, I think compared to places like San Francisco or New York is world class. It really is unbelievable to be able to build a company here.
All right. So one of the tougher questions, did you ever have a moment where this just may not work? We may not make it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Multiple times. We were really early within the space. So we had the idea and we saw that there was a market there, but I think being able to see that the progress of technology and where we wanted to go, being able to see that catch up with the vision that we had was really opportunistic. And there were times really before generative AI was a thing, before the evolution of models and what they can do now, where we said, well, yeah, we have a great idea, but is the technology going to be able to catch up to where we want to go? So that was one point. And then also obviously within the fundraising journey, right? Within our last fundraise, we spoke to a lot of investors and got a lot of feedback of saying, this isn't right, or, the market's not big enough, et cetera, like some feedback on that side, and had a whole fundraising process actually just fall apart at the last minute. And then sort of miraculously come back together within the start of 2025. So there were multiple times that we thought that the company wasn't going to make it. It was never those drastic stories of we have, 2 days of runway left in the bank account. Stefan has made sure that we've been always in a really good financial position. But we've definitely thought that before of, this might not work.
Well, but to complicate and follow up on my original thesis of 3 founders, that's a dynamic that's got to work well, and you articulated that. But when you take in money, investors, that's another massive dynamic shift.
Absolutely. Yep.
How did the 3 of you think about that, and did you have differences of opinion on that?
We've always had great financial backers. Honestly, we have some that are here locally. So Amiral Ventures is our main partner here in Montreal. The managing partner is an entrepreneur who sold his business and has backed, I think it's close to 100 companies, is an angel investor. So really understands founders deeply and thinks a little bit like in San Francisco, venture capitalists, like very much taking early bets on companies, and I think Canadian venture capital can be a little bit more conservative. So we've been really happy to have them within the cap table. And then San Francisco venture capital as well, and then the UAE as well from a strategic standpoint. So we've always just had financial backers that have really understood the vision of where we want to go and understood the potential of what we're doing. So honestly, it's been one of those things, just like the team composition, that has just been the perfect mix of investors and the expectations of that for the company.
But surely you got in front of some potential investors that when you walked away, you said, I don't care how much money they have. It doesn't matter. It's not
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always compare it to dating, right? It really is like dating. You can see, one of our early investors told us, we had this conversation early. It's, if you have conviction, there's 100 reasons that you're going to say yes and none that you're going to say no. And if you don't have convictions, there's 100 reasons that you say no and none that you say yes. So within a first conversation, often within 5 or 10 minutes within the first conversation, you can see if a financial backer has conviction. They're going to lean in. The conversation is going to be easy. And then obviously there's going to be the due diligence that needs to happen. But you'll see that pretty naturally, and you'll see the opposite pretty naturally as well. So yes, we've walked away from conversations and saying, oh, could be a good fit for another founder, but definitely not the fit for us and the company. And that's fine.
Sometimes I like to ask questions that are on a scale 0 to 10. Mm-hmm. So on a 0 to 10, with 0 being the worst experience of your life, mm-hmm. and 10, the easiest and best experience of your life.
Yep.
Tell me about the last 18 months.
Yep.
And then tell me what you expect for the next 18 months.
Oh, that's a good question. The last 18 months, truthfully, has been, I think, a solid 8.5 or 9. Like, it's been really good. Like, we've really just seen growth in all of the key indicators that we want to. We're well capitalized. We have a great team. We're working in a great space. But what we want to build, we're not going to go into too much detail because we're keeping a lot of these things close to the chest. It's going to be an 11. Like, we have the ambition to just build a generational company that's really going to affect, millions of people, but, if not billions of people. So that's where we're at in terms of the 18 months and where it was.
Patrick. Maybe I was misguided how I asked the question. The reason I say that is you just set up a framework for all the aspiring entrepreneurs to look for a cakewalk.
Well, there's been a lot of the flip side of that is there was a lot of times where you're not going as fast as you want to. Things are breaking. There's bugs. There's people who aren't happy, and you're trying to fix those things. There's competitors that are shipping features that before you. There's a lot of I think, am I at the right place, the right time? And, so definitely not a cakewalk. But if you take a look at zooming out as a whole, I always like to say taking assessments at a 3-month period. So working and then take a look at it quarterly. Where are we at now? Where am I going to be in 3 months? And then continuing to do that, continuously quarter over quarter. If you zoom out, then it does often represent usually an 8 or 8.5. But the micro day to day, there's days that are at 1 or 2, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, I think seriously, and if your co-founders feel similarly, which I suspect they very well may.
Oh, they do.
It's kind of a gift to be able to deal the day-to-day challenges that are inevitable, but still step back, see the bigger picture, and recognize that all the little pain points are just a part of the bigger picture that's getting
absolutely
so much better.
Absolutely. And we've been really well surrounded as well with, Simon, who's sold 3 businesses before, and, now he joins us and he gets to build a 4th company, and with advisors around us and investors who've sold companies before. It's come back a lot of just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. Yes, the destination is great, but the journey is going to be, it's up, it's down. It's 2 steps forward, 10 steps back, and vice versa. And it's just about enjoying the journey, right? So that's something that I try to remind myself on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, and I think that maybe in that context, multiple founders is a positive because you support each other through. Because I'm going to guess that each of you have more or less difficult days on a daily basis because of the areas of focus in which you're working.
Absolutely. And they usually don't coincide with the same day. If there's a day that I'm feeling a little bit more down, then Stefan, I have a good conversation with him, and Simon, and vice versa. I would highly encourage, people to not go at it alone, because I don't think it's a journey that's made to be gone at alone. You really need to have that support system from a co-founder perspective.
All right, I'm going to give you a choice and ask you a question, and you can tell me before I ask the question, if I'm going to use a time horizon, do you want me to use 5 or 10 years?
With how quickly AGI might be upon us, and I would definitely go for 5 years.
Okay. All right. Good. So can you describe for me what the company is going to look like 5 years from now?
That's actually a hard question to answer. I think that a few years ago I would have had a certain answer, and now with AI development and where it is, and being able to just do so much more with just a smaller staff of people, a small core team. I'm not going to go into too much detail because we have a pretty extensive roadmap and want to keep that pretty close to the vest. But
I'm not asking for details.
At a high level, it's just making the home design and planning experience just feel magical, like just making it feel unbelievable, whether you be doing a new build in Turkey or in Brazil, or if you're doing a renovation in North Carolina, you're going to have a great experience. It just feels like magic and feels easy. That's the goal of the company and really making it.
So my takeaway from listening to that, which I really appreciate, is that you truly are passionately committed to this residential solution.
Absolutely.
Rather than so excited about the technology that you can splinter it into doing so many other related things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, with what we're seeing within AI development, I always say that, a lot of the moat that we're seeing is, yes, the context we're able to build up around the technology and being able to feed the models properly and being able to steer them in the right direction. But for that, you need to have distribution. To have a good distribution, you need to have a good brand, and being able to stay on brand in what you represent and create that distribution flywheel. Those all go hand in hand, right? So that's why we've been really focused on the residential space. Again, we have a lot of requests for commercial, but for the time being, we're very much focused on residential.
I'm going to ask you to confirm something that is part of my thesis, but feel free to give me your real opinion. Again, you have this positive, potentially challenging multiple founders. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you've already explained how well it's worked for you and how it's a positive in terms of supporting and bringing each other through a difficult day when the other one doesn't have one, and so forth. And yet I work with a fair number of sole founders. Mm-hmm. And what I found that there's a massive number of successful founders of companies they're continuing to lead. Mm-hmm. And it becomes kind of a lonely seat to sit in when they're alone. And, I view myself with the experiences I've had and my focus area to be a great objective and unbiased, supporter or brainstorming partner with them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're a bit resistant because, I don't know their business inside and out, and I don't profess to. Okay. Mm-hmm. But a sounding board in those instances is where I think I can help people. You have that kind of built in, so which is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get it as well with our board members, our investors, our advisors. We just, again, this is a shout out to Montreal and the Montreal ecosystem, tech ecosystem. It's a small ecosystem and a lot of people know each other, but it's an incredibly tight ecosystem as well. And from the early days, we just got to know advisors, investors, friends became investors and vice versa. Investors became, advisors, consultants. It's a great ecosystem to work in because we have that support system just built in.
Yeah, it's critically important. There's no question. And going back to my 0 to 10 scale, the founder's journey to date.
Again, like a pretty solid, I think I'd maybe put that as like a solid, 7.5 or 8. I think I'll downgrade a little bit because the early days were tough. Like we didn't really know what to build, and we just learned a lot of lessons, and we learned them in sort of a slow fashion, I think. So yeah, that was that's definitely overall it's been a net positive, an unbelievable net positive.
Yeah, that's great. And I hear that a lot, but those early moments, you got to be resilient, or it may not be there. Then the next thing is, do you have 2 or maybe 3 little tidbits to share with aspiring entrepreneurs?
Yes. So building distribution is incredibly important. We built distribution before we had a great product. So we had, with the V1, there was a lot of issues with the platform. We didn't fully deliver on what we were trying to build, but we knew that there was a market that was there. We built that distribution through the good old fashioned SEO, hard way. Also did it with some paid advertisements as well. So that's number one, is just as much as you can get distribution channels and build distribution. More and more AI experts are saying that as well, that the technology is not a moat anymore, but distribution is. So building brand and distribution is incredibly important.
One question on that before we leave it.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to build distribution when you were still having the clunkiness with the product?
We sort of caught lightning in a bottle, I believe. We were really early when it came to AI floor plan generation, those types of key terms on Google, and from an SEO perspective, got backlinked by a lot of different websites as well. So I don't know if I'd be able to replicate that type of distribution. So right place, right time. But that's early days how we were able to do it. So it was a little bit of luck. There's often luck that's involved in company successes.
Persistence hopefully finds luck.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Let's say there was a football coach once that said, luck is when hard work meets opportunity. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. And being curious, I think that being curious, and I'd say be curious and also learning as fast as you can. I always say, again, I'll say it's, you put pucks on net, you take shots. From that, you're able to learn in a quick fashion and not waiting for something to be perfect, because you just learn so much by being able to ship in a quick fashion. We've been able to see that really at play throughout the whole history of the company. And then being curious as well. Like I mean, in the world of AI, a skill that you don't know, you can pick up quickly. Our marketing team is now doing videography and social media stuff and customer success. They're doing the job of basically a team of 10 or 15 people, traditionally of 10 or 15 people, and now they're 2 people, right? So I'd say that use AI tools, be curious, and work on a big problem that you want to solve as well. So take into account what's possible right now is going to be obsolete in a month or 2 months or a year. So really focus to work on big problems that need to be solved.
You mentioned it, but one of my other favorites is don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just ship it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Patrick, congratulations to you and the whole team. You've done an amazing job, and we're going to watch out for future even better news coming out of things that you are doing. Awesome. How can people find you, get in touch with you, follow you?
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter. Yes, it's called X now. That's the best way to find me on X. I think you'll maybe get a little bit more of my spicy thoughts sometimes, and LinkedIn a little bit more of a filtered professional view. But that's the best way that you can find me. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for your time. Congratulations again. And I look forward to hearing more.
Thanks, Perry. Appreciate it.
Take care.
This has been The Fork in the Road with Perry S. Kaufman. If you're a founder and this episode helped you think differently about where you are and where you're going, please visit perryskaufman.com.